I'm David, 42 years old, and I built a tech company called Nexus Technologies from absolutely nothing into a billion-dollar empire. The twist? Almost nobody knows I control it. After getting burned badly by gold diggers in my mid-20s, I learned the hard way to keep my wealth hidden behind complex networks of shell companies and private trusts. I deliberately dress like an average middle manager, drive a Honda Civic, and live in a nice but unremarkable suburban house. To anyone who meets me, I appear to make around $200,000 annually. Comfortable upper middle class, but nothing extraordinary. 10 years ago, I met Jennifer Martinez at a charity fundraiser. She was absolutely stunning, model tall, with auburn hair and incredible ambition burning in her eyes. The chemistry was immediate and intense. We dated for about a year before getting married. Throughout our courtship and marriage, I never revealed my true financial situation. I told her I was a business consultant working with various tech startups, showed her tax returns from one of my smaller consulting LLCs, and she seemed perfectly content with that lifestyle. We bought a comfortable 3-bedroom house, took modest vacations to places like Lake Tahoe, and lived what appeared to be a typical upper-middle-class American life. Jennifer was a rising star at Apex Dynamics, a mid-sized technology firm in our city. She worked absolutely brutal hours, networked constantly at industry events, and climbed the corporate ladder like her entire existence depended on it. I was genuinely proud of her intelligence and work ethic, even as she began making increasingly pointed comments about my supposed lack of ambition. "Don't you want something more?" she'd ask over dinner. "Why don't you pursue bigger clients or start your own firm?" I'd just smile and tell her I valued work-life balance, that I was content with where I was professionally. What Jennifer never knew was that I'd been the anonymous angel investor who saved Apex Dynamics from bankruptcy 5 years earlier. The company had been hemorrhaging cash, about to lay off half their workforce, when a mysterious shell company called Horizon Holdings suddenly pumped in $50 million to stabilize operations. That was me. And for the past 3 years, I'd been systematically and quietly buying up additional shares through various entities and investment vehicles. By last year, I personally owned approximately 28% of her company, though nobody could trace it back to my name. Then came that Wednesday afternoon that fundamentally changed everything. I'd installed a sophisticated security system in our house years earlier, motion sensors, cameras throughout, the whole setup, mostly for peace of mind. Or so I'd thought. That Wednesday at exactly 2:17 p.m., my phone pinged with a motion alert. Jennifer was in our master bedroom. She was supposed to be at work, specifically in what she'd described that morning as an absolutely critical board presentation that would run all afternoon. Sitting in my downtown office, I pulled up the security footage on my phone. I watched my wife walk purposefully into our bedroom, go straight to her dresser, and pull out red lingerie I had definitely never seen before. She changed quickly and efficiently, checked her appearance in the mirror from multiple angles, adjusted her hair carefully, grabbed her purse, and left. The entire sequence took maybe 12 minutes. I sat there staring at my phone screen, feeling like someone had punched me in the stomach. I'd suspected something was wrong for months, the late nights that became increasingly frequent, the secretive phone calls where she'd suddenly step into another room, the way she'd pull away when I tried to kiss her, always claiming she was stressed about work deadlines. But seeing this concrete confirmation still felt devastating. I immediately called Tyler Brooks, my oldest friend from our working-class neighborhood in Detroit, and literally the only person who knows the full extent of my financial empire. We'd grown up together in poverty, both clawed our way out through sheer determination and some luck, and stayed close through everything. "I need intelligence," I told him without any preamble. "Complete information on who Jennifer's seeing. I need it today by end of business." Tyler had contacts absolutely everywhere after years of business together. Within 6 hours, I had a comprehensive dossier sitting on my desk. Brandon Cole, Executive Vice President at Apex Dynamics. Married with 2 children, ages 8 and 11. Notorious within the company culture for sleeping with ambitious women and dangling promotions as bait to manipulate them. My people inside Apex, I had a finance director named Robert Williams and an HR manager named Sarah Mitchell on my private payroll for years, feeding me information. Pulled hotel receipts, text messages retrieved by our IT contact, expense reports with suspicious patterns, and eyewitness accounts from other employees of Jennifer and Brandon leaving his corner office looking disheveled after supposed late-night strategy sessions. The affair had been ongoing for 8 months. 8 full months of systematic lies, of her coming home and kissing me on the cheek while smelling like hotel soap and someone else's cologne, of her telling me elaborate stories about client dinners and emergency board meetings while she was actually in his bed. The documentation was thorough and absolutely damning. Text messages where Brandon called her babe and explicitly discussed her earning the VP promotion through their relationship. Hotel charges on his corporate card that precisely matched nights Jennifer claimed to be working late on projects. Security camera footage from the Riverside Hotel showing them entering together at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday when she'd told me she was in all-day client meetings. Tyler fully expected me to explode, to start throwing things, to immediately confront her in a rage. Instead, I felt this strange, cold clarity settle over me like ice water. I'd been strategic and calculating throughout my entire business career. This situation would be no different. Emotion was a luxury I absolutely could not afford right now if I wanted to handle this properly. "What's your strategy here?" Tyler asked carefully, watching me with that particular look he gets when he knows I'm planning something significant. I pulled up my investment portfolio, showing my Apex Dynamics holdings on my computer screen. The CEO, Thomas Richardson, is 67 years old and actively looking to retire. He personally owns 23% of the company and has been quietly shopping those shares around to potential buyers for about 2 months now. If I acquire his stake and combine it with my existing 28%, I'll have 51%, controlling interest. I'll literally own the company. Tyler's eyes went wide with realization. "You're going to buy her entire company. That's incredibly cold, man." "I'm going to own her company," I corrected him precisely, "and neither she nor her boyfriend will have any idea until I'm ready to reveal it. Jennifer's vice president promotion ceremony is scheduled for exactly 5 weeks from today. That's my deadline to make this happen." Over the next intense month, I executed the acquisition with absolute surgical precision. My attorney, Michelle Torres, had been handling my complex business deals for 15 years. Shell companies, offshore holdings, private equity maneuvers, the whole spectrum. She arranged a completely private meeting with Thomas Richardson at the exclusive Hamilton Club, one of those old money establishments where major deals happen behind closed doors. Iron clockwork NDAs were signed before we even discussed basic terms. Richardson was genuinely tired and ready for retirement, wanted to spend time with his grandchildren. When I revealed my detailed vision for Apex, aggressive expansion into European markets, significantly increased R&D spending, pursuing growth rather than cost-cutting, he was visibly relieved. "Most private equity vultures just want to strip companies for parts and liquidate assets," he said, firmly shaking my hand. "You actually care about building the business and protecting employees' jobs." "I see genuine potential here," I replied honestly. "The company just needs proper leadership and someone willing to make difficult decisions about who belongs in that leadership structure." The final papers were signed exactly 3 weeks before Jennifer's scheduled VP ceremony. Through an incredibly complex network of holding companies that would take forensic accountants months to untangle and trace back, I now owned 51% of Apex Dynamics. The only people who knew this were me, Michelle, Tyler, Robert, and Sarah. Even the board of directors wouldn't discover the truth until I was ready. Jennifer, meanwhile, was absolutely on cloud 9. She'd come home practically bouncing, talking endlessly about the upcoming VP ceremony, showing me the expensive designer dress she'd bought specifically for it, asking repeatedly if I'd remembered to take that day off work to attend. I smiled warmly and said, of course I had, that I was incredibly proud of her accomplishments. Meanwhile, I was systematically watching our marriage disintegrate in real time through security footage and detailed investigator reports. What Jennifer didn't know was that Brandon had been making virtually identical promises to 3 other ambitious women in the company simultaneously, sleeping with all of them, while telling each one she was special and he was helping her career. Sarah had collected signed legal statements from all 3 women documenting his coercion and manipulation. He was a serial hunter who'd been protected by his executive status and Richardson's traditionally hands-off management approach. The night before the ceremony, I couldn't sleep at all. I sat alone in my home office until 3 a.m., making final preparations, reviewing every document, ensuring every single detail was absolutely perfect. Down the hall, Jennifer was sleeping peacefully in our bedroom, probably dreaming about her big moment tomorrow, completely oblivious to the absolute tsunami about to hit her life. I thought about our wedding day 10 years ago, about the vows we'd made in front of everyone we loved. For better or worse, in sickness and health. I'd meant those words with my entire heart. She clearly hadn't. The betrayal hurt far worse than I'd expected, even though I'd had weeks to prepare emotionally. The morning of the ceremony, I left before Jennifer woke up. I left a simple note on my pillow. Had to handle something urgent at work. I'll see you at Apex for the ceremony. So proud of you. Love, D. I wanted her to have several hours of pure anticipation and excitement before her entire world collapsed. Apex Dynamics headquarters was absolutely buzzing with energy when I arrived at 8 a.m. Richardson had sent a company-wide email at 7 a.m. announcing his retirement, and wild speculation was flying about who the mysterious new owner might be. I stood casually in the main lobby in my typical off-the-rack blazer and khakis, holding a coffee, just another unremarkable face in the crowd. Nobody gave me a second glance. Some of these people had actually met me at previous company events as Jennifer's husband David and didn't recognize me outside that specific context. I observed employees speculating wildly, executive assistants whispering urgently, junior managers frantically Googling Horizon Holdings and finding basically nothing useful. The corporate name had been carefully scrubbed from easily accessible search results, appearing only in obscure SEC filings that meant nothing to casual observers. At 9 a.m. sharp, I went up to the executive floor using a special access badge Sarah had prepared for me weeks earlier. Richardson's former corner office, now officially my office, was spectacular, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of downtown. Robert and Sarah were already waiting, reviewing the day's meticulously planned schedule. All senior executives have been notified about the ownership transition, Robert confirmed professionally. They're extremely nervous, especially Brandon Cole. His assistant reports he's made over 20 phone calls this morning alone, desperately trying to get information about who bought the company. Perfect, I said calmly, adjusting the custom Tom Ford suit I'd brought in a garment bag. $8,000, nothing remotely like the department store clothes Jennifer had seen me wear for a decade, diamond cufflinks that cost more than our monthly mortgage payment, Italian leather shoes worth $2,000. I looked exactly like what I actually was, a billionaire CEO. Let him sweat. The uncertainty is part of the process. The termination documentation? Sarah asked efficiently. Completely prepared, I confirmed. The evidence of Brandon's serial misconduct is absolutely airtight. 3 women with signed statements, hotel receipts, text messages, expense reports, everything documented. Legal has reviewed everything thoroughly and confirmed we have ironclad grounds for immediate dismissal without any severance, and he can't realistically fight it without making all the sordid details public, which would completely destroy what's left of his reputation. At 10:45 a.m., I made my way to the main conference center through back corridors. Employees were filing in steadily, the nervous energy practically crackling in the air. Through the glass walls, I spotted Jennifer across the massive lobby. She looked absolutely beautiful in that burgundy dress, her hair styled perfectly, smiling and chatting with colleagues. She was standing quite close to Brandon, both of them in whispered conversation, both looking worried and tense. The VP ceremony that was supposed to be her crowning moment of triumph was being overshadowed by the ownership change, and I could see the frustration clearly on her face. Neither of them noticed me. I slipped quietly through a side entrance to the backstage area where Richardson was waiting. The conference center seated approximately 300 people comfortably. Every single seat was filled. Attendance was mandatory for all hands meetings. I watched carefully from backstage as Jennifer took her designated place at the main executive table. Brandon sat several rows back with other senior managers, constantly checking his phone with visible anxiety. Thomas Richardson walked confidently onto the stage at exactly 11 a.m. "Good morning, Apex family," he began warmly. "Today marks a truly significant transition for our company. After 30 years of dedicated service and incredible memories, I'm announcing my retirement, effective immediately." The room erupted in shocked murmurs and surprised gasps. Richardson continued graciously with a well-prepared speech about his tenure, thanking employees sincerely, celebrating the company's successes over the decades. Then he dropped the bomb everyone was waiting for. Apex Dynamics has been acquired by Horizon Holdings, a private investment firm with both the vision and financial resources to take this company to heights I've only dreamed of. I'm honored to introduce the founder and CEO of Horizon Holdings and your new owner, David Chen. I walked confidently onto that stage. The collective gasp was clearly audible throughout the room. I could see Jennifer's face distinctly in the third row, confusion rapidly shifting to recognition to absolute horror in about 3 seconds. Her mouth literally fell open in shock. Her face went completely white. Sitting beside her, Brandon had gone pale as well, now frantically typing on his phone with trembling hands, probably desperately Googling my name and realizing exactly who I was, founder of Nexus Technologies, estimated personal net worth over $1 billion, featured repeatedly in Forbes and other business publications. "Thank you, Thomas," I said clearly and confidently into the microphone. "For those who don't know me personally, I'm David Chen, founder of Nexus Technologies 15 years ago. I've since built Horizon Holdings into a diverse portfolio of successful technology companies. Apex Dynamics is an exceptional addition to that family, and I'm excited about our future together." I deliberately let my eyes sweep slowly across the entire room, lingering noticeably on Brandon for just a moment, then finding and holding Jennifer's horrified gaze. She looked like she might actually faint. "I believe deeply in Apex's enormous potential," I continued, my voice carrying authority, "but realizing that potential will absolutely require leadership that genuinely embodies integrity, loyalty, and authentic ambition, not the kind of ambition that involves climbing over others, exploiting personal relationships for career advancement, or compromising ethics for shortcuts to power." The message could not possibly have been clearer or more direct. You could literally hear a pin drop in that room. I proceeded systematically with various announcements. Several promotions were formally confirmed, organizational changes outlined, strategic initiatives introduced. Then I came to Jennifer's promotion. Jennifer Martinez has consistently demonstrated exceptional operational skills, strategic thinking, and technical competence throughout her tenure at Apex, I said, looking directly at her. Her promotion to Vice President of Operations is thoroughly well-deserved, based entirely on her professional performance and measurable results. The very deliberate emphasis on professional and measurable results was subtle enough for plausible deniability, but clear enough that everyone understood the subtext. The formal ceremony concluded to scattered, uncertain applause. The energy in the room was strange. People were too shocked and confused to process everything properly. Then came the private luncheon for senior executives, board members, and newly promoted vice presidents. I carefully observed Jennifer desperately trying to maintain her composure as colleagues congratulated her while shooting her curious, knowing looks. Everyone was rapidly making the connection now. She was married to someone named David, and the mysterious billionaire owner was David Chen. The whispered speculation was spreading like wildfire. Brandon attempted to corner her in a hallway outside the main dining area. I couldn't hear their urgent conversation, but I could clearly see his panic, see him gripping her arm desperately, gesturing frantically. Sarah intercepted them with perfect timing and professional efficiency. "Mr. Cole, Mr. Chen has specifically requested all senior executives join him in the dining room immediately for important announcements," she said coolly. During the luncheon itself, I worked the room like I owned it, because I literally did. I discussed the Hendricks account with the VP of Sales, asked detailed technical questions about the product development pipeline, demonstrated comprehensive, intimate knowledge of Apex's operations that absolutely stunned executives who just met me an hour ago. I'd been studying this company intensively for years, knew it better than most people who actually worked here. Then, I deliberately approached Jennifer. She was standing alone by the floor-to-ceiling windows, visibly shaking, holding an untouched glass of wine. "Congratulations, Vice President Martinez," I said pleasantly, my voice loud enough that nearby colleagues could hear clearly. "Your dedication to Apex has certainly been comprehensive and thorough over the years." "David, please," she whispered urgently, her voice cracking with emotion. "We absolutely need to talk privately. I had no idea I never knew you." "Indeed, we have a great deal to discuss," I interrupted smoothly, maintaining my pleasant expression. "But not here, not now, with such an attentive audience." I gestured subtly around the room where at least a dozen people were definitely watching us while pretending not to. "Please, David," her voice dropped even lower, desperate and pleading. "What are you doing? What is all this?" For just one brief second, I let the carefully maintained mask drop completely, let her see the cold fury underneath, the pain, the absolute betrayal. "I'm showing you exactly who I really am, Jennifer, just as you've shown me exactly who you really are over these past 8 months." Before she could formulate any response, I raised my voice to address the entire room, cutting off the murmured conversations. If I could have everyone's attention, please. The room fell into immediate, complete silence. Apex Dynamics has always prided itself on maintaining the highest standards of ethical conduct, integrity, and respect for all employees, I began, my voice clear and authoritative. Unfortunately, I've discovered through thorough investigation that those standards haven't been consistently upheld by everyone in leadership positions. A comprehensive review has revealed serious violations. I turned directly to face Brandon Cole, who had frozen mid-conversation, his whiskey glass halfway to his lips. Brandon Cole, as of this moment, your employment with Apex Dynamics is terminated, effective immediately. The room absolutely erupted in shocked gasps and urgent whispers. Brandon stood abruptly, his face flushing dark red, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "On what possible grounds?" he demanded loudly, his voice shaking with rage and panic. "You can't just sexual maltreatment and coercion of multiple employees, systematic misuse of company resources for personal affairs, repeated violations of ethics policies, and creating a hostile work environment," I listed calmly and precisely, my voice never rising above conversational level. Miss Mitchell has compiled complete documentation, which has been thoroughly reviewed by our legal team and unanimously approved by the board of directors for cause termination. You'll be escorted by security to collect only your personal belongings immediately. All severance rights are void due to the severe nature of your termination for cause. Brandon looked wildly around the room, desperately seeking allies, finding absolutely none. His career, his reputation, everything was crumbling in real time in front of 300 witnesses. His gaze finally landed on Jennifer. In one last desperate move, he pointed directly at her, his voice rising to almost a shout. "This is about her, isn't it? Your wife. Ask her where she really was all those late nights when she claimed to be working. Ask her about our private meetings, about the hotel rooms, about everything we—" "Mr. Cole," my voice cut through the chaos like a razor-sharp blade. "I know exactly where my wife has been and precisely with whom she's been spending her time. That is a personal matter between Jennifer and myself, and we will handle it privately as adults. Your termination is based solely and exclusively on your thoroughly documented pattern of sexual misconduct with multiple female employees over several years, systematic misuse of corporate funds, and repeated ethics violations. Unless you would sincerely prefer that I elaborate on those specific details publicly right now, including reading the signed statements from 3 other women you've maltreated." His mouth snapped shut instantly. The threat was crystal clear. Take the relatively private termination or have every sordid detail exposed to everyone. "Security," I nodded calmly to 2 uniformed guards who'd appeared at the doorway on cue. They moved forward efficiently, professionally flanking Brandon. "You'll be hearing from my attorney about this," Brandon practically spat as they escorted him toward the exit. "I genuinely look forward to it," I replied with complete calm. "My legal team has spent weeks thoroughly preparing for exactly that contingency. Any attempt whatsoever to disparage this company, its employees, or myself personally will result in immediate legal action for defamation and breach of your employment contract. Your non-compete clause remains fully in effect for 24 months, and I absolutely will enforce it. Good day, Mr. Cole." Within 5 minutes, Brandon Cole was being escorted completely out of the building, his security access immediately deactivated, his professional career in absolute ruins, his reputation destroyed. The room watched in stunned, uncomfortable silence. I turned back to face the remaining executives and board members, deliberately softening my expression slightly. I sincerely apologize for that unpleasant scene, but these critical matters needed immediate attention and resolution. Apex Dynamics is entering an exciting new era, one where genuine merit, unwavering integrity, and authentic loyalty are recognized and rewarded, where ethical violations have real consequences, regardless of position or tenure. I genuinely look forward to working closely with each of you who share that vision and those fundamental values. My eyes found Jennifer's one final time across that room. She was crying silently now, tears streaming down her face, her carefully applied makeup completely ruined, her whole body trembling. The unspoken message was unmistakable to everyone present. Her turn was coming next. The luncheon concluded shortly afterward with people making awkwardly hasty exits, desperate to gossip. I retreated to my new corner office. At exactly 4 p.m., I had Sarah formally summon Jennifer. She arrived looking utterly destroyed. eyes red and swollen from crying for hours, makeup completely gone, still wearing that burgundy dress that now seemed like a costume from another lifetime. "Close the door," I said quietly, without looking up from the documents I was reviewing. She complied silently, then stood frozen and awkward near the entrance, suddenly completely unsure how to address this total stranger who happened to be her husband. The heavy silence stretched for a full minute before she finally found her voice. "How long have you known about everything?" I carefully set down my pen and looked up, meeting her devastated eyes directly. "About the affair specifically? 8 months and 3 days since it began with Brandon? I've suspected something was fundamentally wrong for longer than that. Probably sensed it from the very beginning, honestly. My instincts were screaming warnings at me, but I needed concrete proof before taking action. The cold precision of my answer sent a visible chill through her entire body. And all of this, buying the entire company, today's ceremony, publicly firing Brandon in front of everyone, was all of it designed specifically to humiliate me? "Not everything revolves around you, Jennifer," I replied, my voice completely devoid of emotion. "Apex Dynamics is objectively a sound investment with genuine growth potential, strong fundamentals, excellent workforce, solid market position. The timing happened to be extremely convenient for other purposes. I won't deny that reality. The opportunity to acquire controlling interest aligned perfectly with certain personal objectives. But the core business case stands entirely on its own merits, independent of our situation." "David, please." She took a tentative step forward, her hands clasped in front of her almost like prayer. "I know I made a terrible, unforgivable mistake, the absolute worst mistake of my entire life. But please, let me explain everything. We can go to marriage counseling together. I'll do absolutely whatever it takes to fix this, to earn back your trust. Just please, give me one chance." "Do you remember the Industry Excellence Award ceremony?" I interrupted her, my voice suddenly rising sharply. "6 months ago, at the Pinnacle Hotel downtown?" She looked utterly confused, completely thrown by the sudden subject change. "What? I don't understand what—" "Your operations team won major recognition for the Hastings project implementation," I continued, my voice hard and cold now. "When they called your name to come to the stage to accept the award on behalf of your team, I stood up from my seat to accompany you, to support you publicly, to share in celebrating your professional achievement. You physically shoved me back down into my seat and hissed at me, and I'm quoting your exact words here, 'Stay back, you're embarrassing me in front of everyone.'" I watched the specific memory hit her like a physical blow, watched her face crumble as she fully recalled that precise moment. "David, I swear I didn't mean it like—" "But today," I continued, standing now, my voice absolute steel, "when I walked onto that stage, in front of 300 people, when you suddenly realized that the husband you found so embarrassing was actually a billionaire who owns your entire company, who could buy and sell everything in your professional world without even blinking, the look on your face, that moment of pure horror and devastating realization, worth every single penny I paid to acquire Summit, worth every second of careful planning and preparation." "I'm so sorry," she whispered brokenly, tears flowing freely again. "I genuinely didn't know you were wealthy. I had absolutely no idea about any of it. And that difference matters how exactly?" I asked sharply. "If I actually had been the simple consultant you believed I was, would your betrayal somehow be acceptable? Would sleeping with Brandon and systematically lying to my face for 8 consecutive months be perfectly fine if I wasn't rich?" "No, of course not," she stammered desperately. "That's absolutely not what I meant at all." "Then what exactly did you mean, Jennifer? That you wouldn't have cheated if you'd known I was wealthy? That your marriage vows only applied until someone more powerful came along? That basic integrity and loyalty are somehow negotiable based on perceived social status?" She had absolutely no answer, just stood there sobbing, her whole body shaking uncontrollably. "Our marriage is over," I stated flatly, emotionlessly. "It has been functionally over since you made the deliberate choice to sleep with Brandon Cole. Today was merely the formal public announcement, the official conclusion. Divorce papers will be delivered to your office first thing tomorrow morning. The prenuptial agreement you signed will be enforced to the absolute letter. You keep your personal assets, and everything you've earned during our marriage, I keep mine. There's no gray area, no room for negotiation whatsoever." I pressed the intercom button. Miss Mitchell, please escort Mrs. Chen out and ensure building security has updated her access credentials exactly as we discussed earlier. Sarah appeared almost instantly. This way, Mrs. Chen. David, please don't do this, Jennifer begged desperately. Please just give me one chance. I'm sorry. I'm so desperately sorry. It's already done, Jennifer, I said without looking up. Goodbye. As Sarah led her out, Jennifer looked back one final time. I didn't look up. I heard the door close firmly, heard her footsteps fade down the hallway, heard my marriage end with nothing but silence. The aftermath was absolutely brutal for everyone involved. Brandon spiraled hard and fast. My contacts reported he'd been frantically calling every industry connection, trying desperately to find any work. But word had spread instantly about why he was terminated. No reputable company would touch him. His wife filed for divorce within a week. The Anchorage subsidiary offered him a mid-level position at 1/3 his previous salary. It was literally his only option. He eventually took it months later. Jennifer threw herself completely into work. The divorce proceeded with cold efficiency. She moved to an apartment downtown. To her genuine credit, her professional performance remained absolutely exceptional. I kept all interactions strictly professional. Brief emails, formal meetings with other executives present. Just cold, complete professionalism. 3 months after the ceremony, everything seemed settled into a new, uncomfortable normal. Then Brandon completely snapped. He somehow entered the building with a tool, burst into a conference room where Jennifer was presenting, and started making threats. I happened to be nearby, carrying concealed as I always had. I managed to shoot him in the shoulder before he could hurt anyone. Security took him down. He got 7 years for attempted homicide. That was 3 months ago. Last week, I offered Jennifer Executive VP of European Operations in Geneva. She genuinely earned it with exceptional performance. Before she left, we had one final conversation. If you could go back, I asked, would you still do it? No, she said quietly. Not because you're wealthy, but because I learned integrity matters more than advancement, that trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. Then you learned something valuable. She touched my arm. For what it's worth, I am truly sorry. Not for getting caught, but for hurting you. I believe you're sorry, I said finally, but some things can't be fixed with apologies. She left for Geneva last week. Meanwhile, I've launched my foundation supporting entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds. Some might call what I did cold. I call it justice. Jennifer wanted power. She got it, with consequences. I learned who she was when nobody was watching. That education was expensive, but complete. I'm more careful now. Less trusting. Maybe that's sad, but it's honest, and honest beats comfortable lies.